Well, happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Mitchell Swan filling in for Marc today at the Marc McMain Show. And I said happy Tuesday, but it is also voting day.
Yes.
I'm looking at you, Chastity. Have you voted already?
Today is my day. I'm awaiting to the moment of voter, but yes, I do not miss an opportunity to speak my voice.
Okay, well, your opportunity ends at 7 p.m. tonight.
I will be there today.
You promise?
It's a family affair. We take the whole family.
Do you? Okay.
Yes, we absolutely do.
Even the dog votes, right?
No, well.
Okay. Well, folks, we're going to, sticking with today being Election Day, we've got two wonderful guests, and our theme today is Get Out and Vote. And my two guests are Kathy Hurley, and she is the chairman of the Oconee County GOP party. And I've also got James Cooper in the studio with us, and he is the chairman of the 10th District GOP party. So we've got two long ball hitters in here, and I should add that Kathy is also the under 80,000 caucus woman. So that's what we've got there, and she's the second vice chair. So today, Kathy, why don't you, before we get into everything going on, can you tell us your story a little bit? I know you're originally from Texas. When did you get here? What got you into politics? And then we're going to pass the mic to James.
Okay. Thank you for having me this morning, Mitch. I appreciate being on the show. I was fortunate to be on a little while ago, and I'm glad to be back. I grew up in Texas. You're absolutely correct. I still fly a Texas flag in front of my house every day. My husband and I moved here in 2002, primarily to get closer to my parents. My mother is from North Georgia, and we wanted her to be closer to her people. My foray into politics started when I was 12. My father loved politics. He was a member of the GOP in Texas, and that was before it was popular to be a Republican. And so I helped work on a campaign for Congress for a gentleman by the name of James Collins. I stuffed envelopes, I walked doors, and that was my first entrance, and he won. And he continued to run. He was in the Congress for 36 years, and he was a wonderful representative for the state. When you start that, you kind of dabble in it all along. Being from Texas, at one point in time, I used to work for Ross Perot, and in a regular day job.
Oh, what a wonderful American. We miss him.
He was a wonderful man. My husband and I both worked for him, and when he decided he was going to run for president, his famous announcement on Larry King, if you want me, I'll run, kind of sent shockwaves through the office. And for that particular campaign, I was in charge of all the logistics, the travel, the things regarding that for that whole campaign. And so, kind of still happy doing that with politics. And then, of course, I had my kids. And when you don't have those till you're 40-something years old, you have to take a little slower. So I didn't do much politics. But now that they're both grown, flown, I got back into, county party politics. And I have now served, I'm in my third term as the chairman of the Oconee County Republican Party. I've been very fortunate to be the second vice chair of the 10th District Party for 5 years, I guess it's been. And I do serve the Under 80 Caucus, which has 129 counties in it, as their chairman.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So, it's a very interesting, but I like that organization kind of business. I think I'm pretty good at it, or at least people keep telling me I am. So if that's the talent I can lend to the party, then I'm happy to do that.
Well, you've got a great group of people over there in Oconee County. It's grown. You got great speakers. You guys are engaged. And you also rubbed off a little bit on your daughter, didn't you?
I did. My daughter...
You drug her into this whole realm of politics.
Well, actually, it was her grandfather. My husband's father was an elected official for nearly 3 decades, and so she witnessed him running for office. And her father was a political science major, and she couldn't figure out what she wanted to study in college, and so she finally settled on political science, and she started working on campaigns locally. Yeah. She worked on Andrew Clyde's campaign and Jody Heise's campaign, And then when Congressman Clyde won his election, he invited her to go and work in his office in Washington, D.C.
And she's never come back since.
She has not come back. She has traveled to 2 other congressional offices. She did a stint after Representative Clyde's office. She spent time with Bob Latta from the state of Ohio, and she is now serving the Congressional District 4 chairman or congressman from Mississippi. And she's gone from a staff assistant, which is like the lowest rung on the pole other than an intern. She's now the communications director for that office. And so she's done very well, and we're very, very proud of her.
It's pretty hard to get them back once they get up to D.C. I think she's going to be up there a couple decades.
She will be there. I don't anticipate her coming home.
All right. Well, if she ever runs for office and gets elected, we'll have her here on
That
the
would
Marc
be lovely.
McMain show.
She'd be a pistol on this. You'd enjoy that.
I'd be out of a job. As if I'm getting paid. Anyways, so James, brother, everyone knows you, but probably because they're engaged with the GOP. Tell us all about your story.
Well, excuse me. Thank you for having me. My story starts in politics in the 2009-2010 era. Being self-employed, didn't have any money during those years, and we had an open congressional seat in the 7th District. So, having no funding to support a candidate financially, I said, well, I got plenty of time. So I reached out to Rob Woodall's office. They never answered the phone. Could not get the campaign headquarters to answer the phone. Find out several days later, they didn't have any staff. It was just Rob and Derek Corbett and a couple of interns from Athens.
Usually they wait till they're in D.C. before they stop answering the phone.
Right. Well, I was persistent, so I kept on, and finally Derek Corbett answered the phone, and I lit into him because I was wanting some yard signs. That's all I wanted. And he was very apologetic, brought him over to our office in Duluth, and we sat there and we talked for probably 30, 45 minutes. And I learned that there was nobody helping the former chief of staff to the 7th District Congressman, John Linder, at that time. So I was like, well, I got plenty of time, so what can I do to help? And that is what started my involvement in the grassroots side of the political arena.
That's a great story.
The lack of money.
Well, now I'm going to push back on that because to step up, and it's one thing to have time and have no money. It's another thing to say, I'm going to get involved in politics. I mean, you mentioned 2009, so after 2008, we're like, something's broken here.
Right.
You must have felt like, hey, someone's got to start fixing this country, too.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. So I got involved in that
because you got
race.
money now and you're still in it.
Well, now, it costs me a lot of money now. So I got involved in that race, and by the end of that election, I was basically handling the whole grassroots sign campaign for the congressman.
Well, I was just going to say, with the energy that you have, if political was an energy, it would be our James Cooper, 10th District GOP. So if there was such thing as political energy, you would be the spokesperson for that. Absolutely. You bring the energy to Walton County all the way from Athens to Augusta?
Well,
yeah.
Pretty much
Yeah.
to Augusta, to Wilkes County. Yes, ma'am. But thank you for those kind words.
That's the truth.
So where do you live at now, James?
I live up in Bold Springs in Walton County.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought.
Just this side of the Gwinnett County line.
All right, so you moved up from Duluth then.
Yes, we.
You hit
I
the
was
big
born-
time, and
I
you're
was-
like, I'm going to Walton County.
I was born in Duluth, raised in Decula, and we moved out to Walton County in '97.
Yeah, those other places really have grown up since you were a boy, haven't
Oh,
they?
absolutely.
Is there any grass unpaved yet? Don't
There's,
tell anybody if there is.
in Gwinnett, I try not to go left out of the driveway.
And his name sounds like an author. Like James Cooper, best-selling author.
James Cooper,
I like it.
007.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Now, see, that would be funny to the people that know me because my spelling is horrible.
Hey, well, we got spell check and
How
AI
long-
for that.
How long have you been serving as the chairman for the 10th District?
Well, now that's another story all into itself.
It's over 10 years.
No.
No?
I'm in my 5th year.
Okay.
I'm in my 5th year. I never had a desire to run for any kind of elected office, whether it be party or public. I like being behind the scenes. I like being the one that does the work, develops the plan, the strategy, and implements it. Campaigning is not rocket science. It really isn't. You got to know who your target is, know what your message is, and take your message to your target and turn that target out to vote. You do those 3 things, you win.
Outstanding. So let me ask you this. Just stepping out of the 10th District, how are we looking right now for GOP leadership in the state? Do you think it's strengthening? Because everyone keeps talking about, hey, we're getting a little purple. Kathy, I'm looking at you because I'm going to... You're shaking your head. Would you rather pass?
Well, let me get a little bit of clarification. When you say GOP leadership, are you talking about party leadership, or are you talking about public elected leaders like
No,
governor?
just you guys, the grassroots. You see us getting more fired up and still have fight in the game, or we're like, oh, man, this is just...
The Republican Party of the state of Georgia is fighting for its own identity. There's a lot of division within the party. There's folks that are trying to I don't like to use the word unify. That's really not a word that I'm fond of.
Coalesce might be good.
Right. But there's a real effort to try to coalesce and bring calmness back to the party, because we've got good folks in the party. We've got some real good stars. Taylor Hawkins here from Walton County is one of them.
100%. Great guy.
They're all across the 10th District. I'm partial to the 10th District because I work the 10th District, all 20 counties, and I know the folks, and I know where our next leadership's coming from. And something different with me is my job is not to maintain power as the chairman. My job is to grow the organization. You cannot grow an organization and maintain power. It don't work.
I see.
It's just like in the church. A church starts growing, other members start coming in and voting, your power kind of, and your influence kind of diminishes, and then a lot of times elders will panic and they'll lock down and stop the growth. That's not me in the 10th District. I want the growth. I want someone to come in and do my job. Sooner the better, because we got a place in Murphy that I have not been able to fish at in the last 3 years.
He's looking at you, Kathy. Well, you know, one of the men that I was very fond of and read several of his books, and I even got to have a few discussions, was Zell Miller. How important do you think it was? I mean, we were historically, for many decades, Democrat state, but it was more of the middle of the road, blue dog Democrat, conservative values. Did he help shift a little bit more to the conservative values that happened in Georgia in the consecutive years? Because we've had a few governors switch over from being Democrats to Republicans.
I wasn't here.
Well,
I was still in Texas.
the fiscal side of the state of Georgia has pretty much been a conservative state. But what we got to do is the Democrats today are not the same Democrats of 25 and 30 years ago.
Oh, and that's true in every state. California, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island, yeah.
You go to middle and South Georgia, the Democrats there are completely different than Democrats up in this area of the state. To the point that there was a case several years ago where a Democrat won a House election down in Middle Georgia, and he came and served one term, and he was like, okay, the Democrats up here in Atlanta are not the same Democrats from back home. I'm out. He only served one term.
My goodness.
And the Republican won the election the following year.
Interesting.
Well, also what you'll find, many of the county chairs will tell you, some of the best candidates we have, they're really, by definition, by their beliefs and the other, Republican. But they are so ingrained that Democrats win that they will run still as a Democrat. That's changing some. We saw it in some of the sheriff's races this last cycle, and some of the other races in the counties. But it's just, you have to have that. We need to try and get them to be brave and come on over and take the Republican tag.
All right. Well, today we've got to show up in numbers, is what I'm hearing too, and make sure we keep this state red. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the big issues that all the candidates are running on. Again, you're listening to the Marc McMain Show here on Q92.3 FM, and I'm Mitchell Swan. We'll be back shortly.
I chuckled at a cartoon that showed a news conference by a United States senator who announced that he was divorcing his family so he could spend more time with politics. We may laugh, but the truth is many people make that statement every day. Maybe not with words, but with their actions. In fact, if a politician retires from his work to spend more time with his family, it becomes the lead story, met with cynicism on the evening news, while the one who rejects his family advancing his career is commonplace. God tells us we should work hard to the glory of God, but He has clearly shown that we must have priorities. A relationship with God first, and family follows that. What does your focus tell you about your priorities? The Bible says that we have brought nothing into this world and we can take nothing out of it. It's good to focus on the things that last, like putting God first, and then family, and then people all around us that God loves. This is Bryant Wright, speaking right from my heart.
Visit rightfromtheheart.org and click television to watch our TV spots.
I'm Marc McMain, Republican for State Senate, and I approve this message.
Hi, this is former Congressman Jody Heiss. I know what it's like to stand up to the radical left, and I trust Marc McMain to do the same thing in the state Senate. I've watched Marc lead when he served as GOP chairman. He didn't just sit on the sidelines. He helped Republicans, including President Trump, win Georgia. So join me in keeping the main thing the McMain thing. Vote for Marc McMain on May 19th. Paid for by Mark for Georgia Incorporated.
I'm Ryan Millsap, and I'm running for U.S. Congress. America is in a fight for the soul of our country. My opponent is a 30-year-old Nepo baby, a rubber stamp for the political machine. But we need warriors, builders, fighters. I'm 51 with a long history of success. I've been fighting the leftist commies head-on for years. Reject the machine. Vote Millsap on May 19th. I'm Ryan Millsap, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Millsap for Congress.
Welcome back, everybody, on this Election Tuesday. I'm Mitchell Swan, sitting in for Marc McMain, and we're having a wonderful conversation with Kathy Hurley and with James Cooper. So I want to ask you two leaders, what are some of the main issues that are really on people's minds this election cycle?
The first one that comes to mind is everything right now is about affordability.
Oh, 100%.
If you go back to just this past November, we had the special election.
PSC races.
Well, the PSC, 8.5% of Republican voters voted for the Democrats in the PSC race. And in State House, was it 120 or 121?
121.
121 down in Oconee and Clark County. 6.5% of the Republican voters voted for the Democrat. Mm-hmm. And average people, right? Average folks that I talk to that's in the parties, like, that's impossible. You wouldn't do that. Everybody votes their pocketbook. And if you go and you track voter data, more people will swing back and forth in an election based on the economics of the local, their local pocketbook, their kitchen table economy. And so is it, what we have to do as a party, as candidates, is to figure out, is it a referendum on the national, or is it something on the state? The state of Georgia's done great over the last 3 governors. I mean, Governor Kemp's reduced taxes now down to 4.99 on the state
eliminated
income tax.
The gas tax too, to keep gas more affordable for us.
So even though those were state elections, everything kind of goes back to what's happening on your kitchen table, and that's how you're voting, whether it's a state election or a federal election.
Yeah, we can't control the price of oranges.
That's right.
How about you, Kathy? Is immigration one of those hot buttons now? Or?
I think it continues to be, although, excuse me, President Trump has done a wonderful job in getting the borders closed. I think that I could safely say my county would be thrilled if ICE would come and take what they need to. That may not be popular amongst a whole lot of people, but
sure.
I think that is something that they have to look at. I think also fraud and waste is a huge issue, not only nationally but locally, and that ties back to what your elected officials locally are spending. In Oconee County, we have wonderful schools, but we have higher taxes for those, and our county is very successful. We're fairly affluent, very well educated populace, not just kids but the adults, and so we've seen housing property values rise, and with that, property taxes, and that hits everybody.
So it goes back to what James just said, affordability, and people have to understand all of our counties, all of our cities across the country, they put a lot of thought into smart development to accommodate the residents there. And when you have a surge of just 11 million people coming across, you're like, why is my rent so high? Well, because there's families, there's more demand from physical bodies than there are apartments, and therefore they can charge what they want. So I think you're very right. If we could not oppose to immigration, my mother's still a Canadian citizen. She's a legal resident with her green card. But you just have to come in here legally, and then we get to do a head count, and we get to do some, hey, this is a place we should build out and accommodate them.
Exactly.
Can't just show up and be like, oh, oops. How about just the price of gasoline and diesel? How is that affecting maybe our farmers out there still trying to make a living, who still don't? They're not charging an arm and a leg for their potatoes or corn. I don't think they're getting a pay raise, but someone's making money downstream.
Well, I will tell you, the last time I drove by the gas station, I happened to be looking. I was riding with my husband, and we ranched when we lived in Texas, so we would buy diesel by the big tank load.
Sure.
I nearly fainted when I saw the price that diesel was, and I know James will have comments about that too. But yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of like I don't drive a whole lot anymore, so mine is not that affected. But people that are making a trip from, Oconee to maybe to Barrow County or in Gwinnett to work every day, that it adds up. And we have been blessed that Governor Kemp has recognized that and, done away with the tax portion of it. But that can't go forever. So, but I think, and Iran is a whole nother concept, but we've got to get that under control. And I think then that at that point will allow it to come down. I do believe that will happen.
The recent crazy story that I have is I have a friend named Jeff, and we are all having a little meeting somewhere, and he rolled in, I kid you not, in his RV. And we're like, Jeff, why are you driving the RV? He goes, surprisingly enough, this burns gasoline. My other vehicle burns diesel, and it's cheaper for me to take this big monstrosity on the road.
Exactly.
Yeah, $5.35 a gallon for diesel fuel. That'll put a real dent in a dump trucking company owner's bottom line.
And what was
I can tell you for certain.
No, it's your biggest expense, and you got to buy DEF too, and that's made with urea, and all the urea that the world needs is still stuck before the Strait of Hormuz,
right
north of it. What was it say in 2020 before Biden came in? Were we below $2? Was like $1.50?
Diesel in 2020 would have been somewhere in the 2.25 range.
2.25, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to have some idea of just how life is becoming so affordable, a large scale.
That's it.
Gasoline is just one of those consumables we have that we just, we pay for, but it's never been like, wow, I got a budget for it. And it feels like now you got to actually work that in your budget, like your $80 cable bill or something.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when I first started driving, gas was less than $1 a gallon. So, I go now, and it's just, I've become numb to what it is. And the price, you either have to or you just don't go anywhere.
TV was free. It just came through the airwaves.
Exactly.
It was wonderful. Different world back then. Well, one of the things we discussed yesterday, I had a couple guests in here. One was Cynthia Huger, just a wonderful woman, helped with the Trump administration and certainly with the Reagan administration early on. And, what we see going along in the world is we're all showing up to vote because we want to get our judges. And by the way, let's just point that out. The people you vote for today are your next judges. There's no runoff or primary after that. This is it. So we got to do that. But as we all look to our leaders locally in our different counties, and we just want to control our millage rates and get good people on our school boards, the people that we elect at the federal level and at the significant governor level and so forth, that affects world events. And so when we look here, and you had talked about it, we got to wrap up this Ukraine war with some type of resolution so that the world can be affordable for everyone and tamp down some of the violence that will come if people are starving because they didn't get their urea. That never works out well. What are your thoughts on these elections and the impact just on D.C. leadership?
Well, I only pay attention to here in the 10th District when it comes to D.C. leadership.
Yeah.
And so I believe that the nomination for the Republican Party candidate will be finished this evening. I believe we'll have our nominee. I don't believe we'll have a runoff. As far as the rest of it, I've kept up really close with all of our statewide candidates. We got a race over in the 11th district where there's 3 top contenders. I couldn't tell you how that one's going to shake out.
Yeah. Well, I guess my point is, people think, well, my vote doesn't matter, and as we see her, it does.
It is crucial. You mentioned the judicial races. These are 2 Court of Appeals slots and 2 Supreme Court slots, and the incumbents have all been in office a while, and they, I think, take to their canon of ethics very strongly. They're not out saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this if I'm reelected, where their opponents, they've gotten their hands slapped. Judicial misconduct and some ethics violations have popped up, and they're very liberal people.
Well, you can just see that playing out in cities like New York.
Oh, absolutely.
You got these awful criminals that get arrested for these heinous crimes, and then they're just released without bail.
Well, and that's why these I think for the state of Georgia, we have to reelect these incumbents.
Right. And we can't have a 2-tier political system, legal system where, hey, just the mom and dad get arrested or the no-knock warrant, but we turn a blind eye. I think we've been very good in law enforcement here in Georgia.
Oh, I would say so.
Our state troopers are legendary. And if they get on your butt, they are not going to slow down or stop until they get you.
And we've had good, in Coney County and Clark County, we finally got rid of our very liberal district attorney.
Yeah.
Last cycle, and it has a dramatic change.
It makes all the difference in having safe communities and neighborhoods.
So I'd like to point out it's almost 12:30. We're in lunch right now, and folks that live in the listening audience here may be headed to vote. Go ahead and do that. I encourage you to go ahead and do that. If you're pulling a Republican Party ballot, which I encourage you to do, go all the way down past the ballot questions. For some reason, the state executive committee decided to put 10 questions on that ballot. It's a very long ballot. Go all the way past it. That's where you'll come up to the judicial races, where you have the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. Be sure to vote on those. If you don't want to answer the ballot questions, a lot of people think you've got to answer everything on the ballot. You do not. You can leave it blank. But skip down past those questions and simply, I don't even have to call the names. It's really simple. All the incumbents are your constitutional conservative judges and justices. As long as you vote for those incumbents, you're voting the right way. Literally.
I understand. Oh, yeah,
So-
we discussed that yesterday in the show. If you're a conservative, you're re-electing the incumbent.
Absolutely.
Well, just before we go to break, how about if you share the numbers? Because we're behind. We're letting people know today's election day. Republicans typically show up today. But for early voting, we got quite a hill to climb to overcome the Democrats.
Well, we do. Advanced voting ended last Friday. We have a voting roll statewide of a little over 7 million people, and just over 1 million had actually voted, which is 14%. The Democrat vote is outpacing the GOP vote. Last numbers I saw were 154,000. So we have lots of territory to make up today.
Yeah, we were about 400,000 for conservatives that had voted,
Correct.
and 550,000 Democrats have cast their votes.
430 and 584,000, so, and change. But the thing is we I don't know, I mean, in other counties I've spoken to, we have seen a marked resistance to early vote. I don't know whether there's so many candidates. I mean, each one of these races has anywhere from 4 to 7 people in them. Whether they feel like there's an information desert, they don't know enough about them, how that can be with all the mailers and text blasts and TV spots. I don't know, but the thing is we just get to the point where they just decide, I'm going to vote on Election Day, old school.
Well, we'll pick that up after the break, and we'll kind of touch on some of the hurdles or issues that might be keeping people home this voting Tuesday. Again, stay with us. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show, 92.3 FM.
Georgia families value their safety and security, and they know violent gangs, criminal illegal aliens, and weak prosecutors threaten our communities if left unchecked.
But from day one, conservative powerhouse and state senator Bill Cowsert has been on our side.
Decades of holding bad actors accountable in courtrooms across Georgia.
A lifetime of fighting for our conservative values.
Bill Cowsert is the tested and trusted conservative leader we need as Attorney General.
Zero tolerance for criminals.
A safe street strike force.
As a state senator, he held liberal Atlanta DA Fonnie Willis accountable.
And as Attorney General, Bill Cowsert will stop rogue prosecutors from putting politics before justice. You can trust Bill Cowsert to enforce the law every time.
Restore trust in our justice system and put criminals behind bars where they belong.
Bill Cowsert, tough as nails,
conservative as they come.
Paid for by Competitive Georgia Action Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
When you walk through the doors of Campton Restaurant, you're not just here for a meal. You're part of a tradition. I'm fourth generation owner Josh Parker, and for nearly 40 years, families in Walton County and surrounding areas have gathered around our tables to share stories, laughter, and good Southern cooking. From crispy fried chicken to heart-healthy daily specials, there's always a plate waiting with your name on it. We're open Tuesday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays. So come on by, make yourself at home, and experience Campton Restaurant, where family tradition meets every meal.
McDonald's is putting value back on the menu. Whether you're craving a Big Mac, McNuggets, or sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles, make it a meal and save. Your favorite is now your wallet's favorite too. Extra value meals are back.
For $5, get a sausage McMuffin with egg, extra value meal, complete with a sausage McMuffin with egg, small premium roast coffee, and hash browns. Price and participation may vary. Promotion pricing may be lower than meal pricing.
Double D Plumbing is a local, owned, licensed, and insured plumbing company in Loganville. You can reach Double D Plumbing at 770-466-8370. They have the ability to take on any plumbing job regardless of size or difficulty, with experience in all phases of plumbing, including commercial and residential, tankless heaters, sewer cameras, and drain cleaning. Call Craig Shepard at 770-466-8370 or visit them on the web at ddplumbinggeorgia.com. You're going to like the way they flow.
All right, welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. I'm filling in for Mark today. So we have in the studio, we have James Cooper with us, the chairman of the 10th District, and we have Kathy Hurley, the chairman of the Oconee County GOP. So we went to break, and we were just talking about maybe some issues that were keeping people from voting today. So do you want to emphasize some of the critical things that are going to affect our lives for the next 4 or more years if they don't vote?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as we were talking during the break, we talked about, on a national level. Well, we only have two races that are national. We've got, obviously we're going to want to get rid of John Ossoff, so whoever's the Senate candidate is going to have to be able to beat that person. We've got some congressional races scattered across the state, so those will all be determinant. And hopefully we've had so many special elections, and in that whole realm, that's been kind of a fruit basket turnover. But for the predominance of this, these are state constitutional officers, and they're local officers, and these are the people who tell you how much property tax or how much state income tax. I mean, they are the ones who really shape what you're doing. And we have, if you're worried about your children's schools, we've got a school superintendent race. There are 5 people running in that one. I think one of the things, as I said earlier, is we've got so many people in these races, but there seems to be issues. I mean, if you're worried about, voter integrity, we're going to have a new Secretary of State. I mean, the old one's not running, so, it's time to pick who you think is going to be the best person. And that goes up and down the line. I mean, the schools, Secretary of State, same with the Attorney General, Lieutenant Governor, and Governor. And, you get into the debate of, well, has Brian Kemp done a good job or not? And there are people on both sides of that argument. But I always look at it as to who is going to follow that person. If people didn't like Kemp, they're going to want somebody very different. But if they do, they would like to see some sort of continuation. Not that they will have all the same policies and procedures, but you don't want to have this whipsaw effect. One did it this way, one did it a completely different way, and you're caught in the middle.
Well, you guys are brilliant in all of this. A point that you just made, there are so many candidates out there, so I'm going to tie it in with a point that James had made. If you don't know a certain thing, like the 3rd District, such and such, you can skip it. But you're certainly concerned about who your governor might be.
Absolutely.
And certainly about if you're voting on a congressman, you know who that's going to be. And, we have these individuals you might know, and you might say, I don't know everyone, so I'm not going to go vote. Well, go vote for the ones you do know. Skip the ones you don't.
Well, I will say this. Every county party in the state,
except judges.
Party, well, no, that's true. The
incumbents.
Judges, all the incumbent judges statewide. But most of the county parties have done a really good job of trying to get candidates in front of their groups, and most of the meetings are open to anyone that wants to come and hear these people. So we're going to have a little more, not so much voter apathy. We're going to have them a little more energized, and many of us have tried, and it's difficult sometimes to get them out to vote. So if you haven't voted, you need to go do that today.
James, would it be fair to say, I've lived here since 1995. I always make the assumption, listen, we're a red state. I'm going to have a conservative governor. I'm going to have a conservative attorney general. And I think that keeps some Republicans home. But they have to understand, based on the numbers right now, the Democrats are hungry. They have the lead. And if we don't show energy in these, elections today, we're not going to show energy in the general. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to say we're a red state is a little misleading. We are a red state if we vote. So if you go back, I started sounding the alarms during the second election of Nathan Dill as governor. If you back up and you go back on the Secretary of State's website and look at the past election results of statewide elections, we hit a peak, and then we got up to about a 10% margin of victory, and then we started losing 1.25%, 1.5% every election cycle moving forward.
The score keeps getting tighter, doesn't it?
It keeps getting tighter, and it keeps getting tighter. So what we've had happen is we've had a influx and growth in Metro. We've had folks leave rural Georgia, South and Middle Georgia, and go elsewhere for work. So your rural and your rural areas tend to be more conservative. They still go to church on Sunday. They still go to church on Wednesday night Bible study. You get up into the metro areas, you tend to have the small groups instead of Wednesday night Bible study. It's just a different social atmosphere. And so that can lend to different political atmospheres. And so I'll give you an example of in Barra County several years ago. I was given a speech and I said, you've got to get up and you've got to go out here and turn out another 2% of the votes. Oh, they have been saying we're going Democrat. You're buying into that. You know, Barra County, 72% Republican. Okay. But Gwinnett County just went blue.
Wow.
You know, that is moving over. It just, you can only develop so much until you run out, and then it comes over into the next county. So you've got to get out and you've got to work. I don't care. Walton County used to be 78% Republican. I think we was down to 74 in this last election, depending on whose race you looked at, whether it was Sheriff Brooks or whether it was President Trump's. Or Mike Collins. I think Mike Collins was 75%. I think Sheriff Brooks was like 77. He was our top Republican vote getter. So we as a party have to get out there and we have to work the ground. We have not done that well. We have basically 30 years ago, the folks that were in party leadership, they did all the work. They got the state, they flipped the state, and everything kind of fell together. They've aged out. They're now in their mid-80s. They can't do it anymore. So somebody else has got to come in and do it. There's technology out there that didn't exist back then. It's still the same thing. It just takes the work.
Help me with this. Also, when you think of an example, it's after the 2020 election. And Trump is lost, and conservatives are like, that's it, they stole the election, the whole thing's rigged, I'm giving up. And then we had 2 Republican senators, and now we've got 0.
That's right.
And it's because of our apathy. So our not showing up just hands them the victory.
Right. It's not my guy. My guy didn't win the primary. I'm going to stay home.
Because we like them. Remind me of the senators. There was Loeffler, and who was the other one? Perdue?
Kelly Loeffler and
Perdue.
David Perdue. Right.
Who was the one that they elected that we lost in that January in 2021?
Both of them.
We lost them both.
Both at the same time. Oh, that's right. Ouch.
And that's because people were under the assumption that the elections were rigged. So why go vote?
Or, like I was saying before, some said at home going, my vote doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Somebody else will show up. Enough other people will show up, and we'll still keep those senators. And it did not happen.
You bringing that back up, let me back up several years ago here in Walton County where we had a commission district decided by 2 votes. It was incumbent Commissioner Clint Ayers, and I forget who the challenger was, but Clint Ayers won his re-election in that primary just simply by 2 votes.
I suspect that was Chastity because she waits to the last minute to vote. And they're like, hey, we got the other second vote.
Not that we're judging or anything.
Not judging.
No,
I like
we
that.
may be side-eyeing a little, right?
Right, you're keeping your cards close,
yes.
right? And you're
it's
gonna
a family affair.
You're gonna tip the scale.
I'm gonna send you a picture.
We're gonna put that on Facebook. We're gonna flip that around. What are your thoughts, Kathy?
Well, I mean, James is absolutely correct. Oconee County, which used to be probably 80% Republican, lost, a state house seat by 198 votes. That hurt. that was a follow-up to getting a super liberal district attorney 2 years prior to that. 3 years, that was before I was chairman, but 811 votes. I will never forget that number because we couldn't get another 800 out. But that was also a runoff. And so that's the thing. I mean, there were so many people, there were conversations at 2020, I'm not going to go vote because it's not my people, I don't like them, somebody picked them, and this is the problem that we fight. I mean, I had an influx of people join the Oconee County Republican Party after 2020 because they were mad. They knew if they got involved that they could change it on a dime, and it was kind of difficult for them because they finally realized nothing really moves that quickly in politics.
All right, we're going to go to break here, but when we come back, let's talk about some of the strong Democratic candidates out there that we do have to overcome, because some of them are polished and pretty sharp, and they seem to get the votes. So that's who we're trying to defeat. So you're listening to the Marc McMain Show on 92.3 FM.
I'm Miranda, founder of the Humane Society of Walton County. We're a community-funded, no-kill shelter for homeless dogs and cats. On May 30th, we're raffling off a brand new 2024 Jeep Wrangler or $40,000 in cash. Tickets start at $30 each, with only 5,000 being sold. To purchase your tickets, visit humanewalton.org. You don't want to miss this chance to win a brand new 2024 Jeep Wrangler or $40,000 in cash, all benefiting the Humane Society of Walton County.
John's Supermarket in downtown Monroe is proud to serve the Walton County community for over 50 years. 3 generations of the Thompson family offering the freshest produce, quality meats, everyday essentials, and now featuring Bistro South, a quick service restaurant with freshly made Southern cuisine and ready-to-heat gourmet meals. Always proud to support local farmers and suppliers, John's Supermarket has the best meat in town and tons of weekly specials. Stop by and see them for all the ingredients, meals, snacks, sweets, gifts, and everything in between you need.
I'm Clark Dean, and I'm running for governor to bring bright, competent executive leadership for a better Georgia. Georgia needs a governor who puts service above self, who puts Georgia families first, and knows how to be tough without being mean.
Don't be mean. Vote for Clark Dean.
Don't be mean. Vote for Clark Dean.
Don't be mean. Vote for Clark Dean. Woohoo!
I'm Clark Dean, and I approve this message. Paid for by Clark Dean for governor.
Hey, this is Doug.
And this is Robbie.
We own and operate Foy Tree Service.
When you need tree cutting, stump grinding, lot clearing, mulching, firewood, and more, call Foy Tree Service.
Serving Morgan County and surrounding area since 1987.
With top quality service and fair prices, we take pride in our work, and we do everything to make sure that you are a happy customer.
That's Foy Tree Service. Call us at 706-342-8733.
That's 706-342-TREE.
Welcome back, everyone. This Election Tuesday, I'm Mitchell Swan, and in the studio with me is James Cooper and Kathy Hurley. And when we went to break, we were just talking about the urgency, the need to get out and vote. And we do have, one candidate that's certainly of concern to us is Senator Ossoff. If you're a Republican, we've got to get out there to vote today to get the best candidate up there that can not just challenge him but beat him. What are your thoughts on those? We have two pretty strong, or how many people are in the race right now?
We got 3 candidates running for the Republican nomination. Congressman Mike Collins here from the 10th District, Congressman Buddy Carter from the 1st District, and Derek Dooley from Rayburn County.
Yeah. So any one of those 3 would be a step up from Ossoff in our political views.
The question is who can beat him?
Sure.
That's really it. Who's got the draw that will hit all the buttons across the state?
Yeah.
Who will go? Who will connect with South Georgia, the coast, and Metro? And that's a question we've all been asking.
Well,
we have all been asking that question.
Well, we support all 3 of them. Just our Republican brothers up there, but we've got to get people to turn out and kind of shape the results of these races. Are there any one of the other concerns too was just government oversight. I don't know about others, but I am so concerned about artificial intelligence and this digital currency and this. But I feel like when I look at states like New York and I see how liberal England has gotten, they have cameras everywhere. They have hate speech laws everywhere. The only way you can vote and push back against that, or DEI, is to get out and vote. Now, it might ultimately come one day that we're not going to stop this 1984 novel nightmare, but we can delay it and maybe regroup. So, we got data centers we're worried about. Is that an issue too for people?
That's a huge issue. That's a huge issue. We've got I think it's up in the 14th. They've got people who are getting ready to lose their homes, part of their farms, for a data center.
To be fair, I think both parties have embraced AI and data centers because it makes jobs. But in order to retain our freedoms as we use that system out on social media or thought pieces or images or things we'll post on YouTube, what's your sense, James? Are people nervous about that?
Well, I worry about AI. I mean, I have seen over the past 2 years the evolution of AI and what it's doing to the political arena, how easy it is to make something that looks absolutely real. I mean, I know a lot of these candidates on a very personal level, and I've seen stuff that makes me go, whoa, it will fool me.
It'll just spoof you.
Yeah. It will fool me. And so when you have that happening, it's, I don't know, it makes me nervous. AI makes me nervous.
Well, it makes me nervous, but it goes back to those individual rights, and especially as I see, I mentioned my mother's Canadian. They've got hate speech laws now. It just went into effect up in Canada. If you're just using the Bible to push back and make people rethink their lifestyle, like hate speech, what are some gun rights is another one. So how important is it we get our conservative people and then we get to hold them accountable? How important is that in this race? I mean, just from a lifestyle.
Well, the way that I've always approached voting, I don't know if this is really exactly where you was going with that lead in, but I always approach voting is I'm looking for the most conservative that can win a general that I like. Because if I don't like you, I'm not voting for you.
Right.
So, but that's how I approach every primary. I'm not going to say who I voted for in all these races. Number one, I am not allowed to.
No, don't want you to do that.
So, but it would surprise people at some of the candidates I voted for, because I vote for who I like in each race, whether they have a shot at being in a runoff or not. That's not what the primary's for. My mother asked me this morning before she went to vote, well, who did you vote for this? And I told my mom, okay? I'm not going to tell you, but I told my mom. And she says, well, is he going to be in the runoff? And I said, nope. Well, you wasted your vote. No, I didn't. I voted for who I wanted to. I will have a runoff to make a decision between the two front runners next month. So that's just the way I approach it.
Well, I guess I was going with if I think constitutionalists, people that are going to be, hold the Constitution sacred in their duties up there in D.C., it outlines all of our freedoms and liberties. And I feel when people say, well, they're liberal, I'm like, you got to define that more. Right. I grew up with Democrats, and like you said, there wasn't a big gap between them. I'm from Cape Cod, for goodness sakes. The Kennedys are like royalty still up there. But even JFK and Bobby couldn't get on the Democrat ticket today because they're not liberal enough.
No,
and I feel liberal means, well, we're gonna tell you what you get now. It's not God-given anymore. It's whatever we rule.
Right.
Well, and I think that's one of the really important things. We saw it in the last presidential. The Democrats, they didn't even have a primary. They just anointed a candidate, and thankfully she lost big. We don't want to do that as a state party. I mean, that is one of the things. Every person who votes should have the opportunity to vote for whomever they think would be best. Now, we've discussed, our favorites, and I have the same prohibition. I can't talk about my choices.
Sure.
If you want to go look at the back of my car, you can be able to tell everyone's on there, so you can tell who I've selected. But the thing is they have to have that ability to do that. That's the only way that people feel like their voice is heard. But the thing is what we have to try and do is to keep the candidates from being so foul with each other that if you have, super support on one candidate and the super side on the other, that once the nominee is selected, we have to coalesce. We got to unify. I'll use that.
Well, I can work
We've
with
got to
any
get 'em-
Republican.
but I will tell you that is not always. Unfortunately, that is not always.
Over a Democrat. And,
absolutely.
I sit there and watch the new mayor now of New York City opening basically socialist free grocery stores.
That's right.
And I look at Georgia. What are we? 4th in the economy of the U.S. I mean, we're crushing it. We're doing really, really well.
Right.
And I want to see that engine of prosperity continue here, even if the rest of the country goes, more to the left and more liberal.
Well, I don't think anybody that's Republican truly wants a Democrat in office. But I will say that when we were talking about people coalescing around candidates. We've got to make that happen.
Chastity, you're giggling over there. Were you trying to get my attention and I just tuned out? Please ask the last couple questions. Let's go.
I was just giving you your cue.
Oh, is that my cue? Oh, we have 4 minutes left.
So funny.
Oh.
We're all laughing.
Now we just have dead air.
You're awesome.
All right.
No, we like giggles.
Yeah. So, any predictions for tomorrow as far as, do you think we'll excel today, come up from behind and lead the charge in votes? That's all I care about.
We will.
Well, before we get into predictions, I want to back up to your
please.
On the candidates.
Thank you.
Okay, so one of my pet peeves when we're talking about a constitutional candidate, this, that, and the other, don't let me hear you refer to our form of government as a democracy.
It's a republic.
That's right.
Understand. Message received.
That gets
representatives.
I mean, I'm not saying
No, you're right.
But as a candidate, it really gets under my skin when I hear a candidate or an elected official refer to us as a democracy. That just tells me you
don't know what
you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
You don't need to be in office. So, but predictions. Can I do predictions? Because
not on the candidates.
I'm doing the Peach Pundit podcast tomorrow evening with Buzz Brockway and the 8th District Chair. So I sent my prediction to Buzz last night. But anyway,
yes.
So for governor, I think that one's pretty clear what we're going to see tonight when all the votes are tallied. I think it's going to be Burt Jones and Rick Jackson in a runoff. The Senate, this one is going to surprise some folks. It surprises me. A week and a half ago, I wouldn't have even made this prediction, but it does look like on the ground and in people I've talked to that Derek Dooley has picked up a groundswell of momentum over the last week and a half, and I believe it'll be he and Mike Collins in a runoff for Senate. Let's see, Lieutenant Governor. This one is the one I could really be off on, but I do believe it'll be John Kennedy and Greg Dolezal. And for Secretary of State, hold on to your britches because I think this one's going to be Tim Fleming and Vernon Jones.
Wow, so we got runoffs. Well,
Yes.
we'll whittle the
We're
pack
going to have
down.
lots of runoff.
Yeah, we'll whittle the pack down a bit.
And your prediction for District 44?
40
State Senate?
State Senate. Okay, now that one's really close to home.
Easy.
That's not
That one's
statewide.
super easy.
I am going to refrain from that one.
Okay.
Yeah, please
As long
do.
as we know where we're
How
at.
about predictions just on votes? Because now, Oconee, you're outperforming the Democrats, correct, over
yeah.
there?
Yeah, we're 3-1.
3-1.
3-1.
How are we doing in Walton County, James?
When I looked last night, we were still up there in that percentage range.
Okay, good.
Our turnout in general is in the toilet. But I mean, there's not a way of sugarcoating
We're
it.
not showing up, and neither are they.
Cody's is not.
Everyone's giving up.
I have conversations with my colleague, the 8th District Chair, basically on a nightly basis, and he told me the other day, he said, Coop, the 10th District's like the number one turnout district when you take all your counties together. I said, yeah, but it still sucks.
It's been better.
That's right.
It's like our economy. It's been better. It's not awful.
But today is election day. And so get out there and vote. Go all the way to the end of the ballot. Vote the incumbent judicial.
Wonderful. Well, I just want to thank you both for giving up your afternoon, coming on and here with me. And I hope that we've inspired some people with some urgency to get out there and bring their whole family to vote before 7 p.m. locally. And we'll let the next guest tomorrow talk about the results. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Mitchell
very
Swan,
much.
sitting in for Marc McMain, and you're listening to QFM 92.3.